I just built 12 invoices in QuickBooks with just one command, and every one of them was checked against a spreadsheet down to the penny, and not one of them is getting sent until I say so. This command is something that I built for my clients, and the most important part of this whole video is going to be the last minute when it comes back and tells me that my own numbers were wrong. So stick around for that because that's the part that actually matters. So every service business on earth has a file like this one. It's a spreadsheet where the actual work lives. It's got the job date, the client, what you did for them, and how many hours it took. And of course, what you charge. And then completely separately, you have an accounting system that knows absolutely nothing about that file. So at the end of the month, somebody has to go in, sit down, and retype the whole thing, line by line, into a form. This is 12 invoices and just under $3,000. This can be a morning where the only job skill that is actually required is not making a typo. This is the kind of work that everyone feels is beneath them and someone still has to do. And the only reason it's still like this is that the two systems don't talk to each other. Someone sold you an integration once, it kind of half worked, and eventually you just kind of gave up and went back to typing. So instead of doing that, I dropped in the tracker and I ran one command. The command is the whole interface, and it's the only thing that your team ever has to touch. It reads through the tracker and it bills every row that's marked ready to bill. It matches every line to a customer and a service that already exists in the books. So it never invents a customer, it never invents a service, and it never invents a price. And critically, it does not send a single one of them. The reason this is hard is all the boring stuff you're watching it handle. This form physically rearranges itself the moment you pick a customer. So fields move around you. Some of my services carry a default rate. Some of them come up completely blank, and the line items behave completely different depending on which account they might sit under. Every one of these little things is a spot where a cheap native automation quietly writes garbage into your general ledger and nobody catches it for 3 months. Getting all of that right is not something you get free out of the box. That is the actual work, and that's what lives underneath the command. Here's the one I like the most. Partway through, QuickBooks helpfully offers to add an extra $375 charge to one of my clients' invoices. It's a billable time entry it found kind of sitting around. That charge gets declined, and it doesn't get declined because the software had some moment of conscience. It gets declined because the rule I set is simple. You build a tracker and you build nothing but the tracker. If a charge isn't in the source file, it does not end up on a customer's bill. That's a decision somebody made deliberately because guardrails like that never happen by accident. Now here's the real pivot, and it has nothing to do with invoicing. Nobody on my side had to learn this software to make it happen, and nobody had to sit and babysit it either. The team doesn't operate QuickBooks and they don't operate the AI. They ask for an outcome, they get the outcome back, and then they check it. And I want to hit the objection I get on every single sales call, which is people asking whether their vendor has a good API. Some of them do, some of them don't, and some of them will hand out you one that flat out doesn't work, which is exactly what happened with this company's books. I've stopped caring either way, but ultimately it doesn't matter. If there's a clean way in, we take it. And if there isn't, the system just operates the screen the same way any person would. You get the invoices regardless, because your finance software doesn't actually get a vote on whether you're allowed to automate it. And that's the whole thesis. Go build software, because it generally doesn't matter what your interface looks like anymore. The easier you make it to drive, the more you're going to sell, because the thing on the other side isn't a person clicking your buttons anymore. The app that wins is no longer the prettiest. It's the one that an agent can actually operate. Now, you always have to check the work because these systems do make mistakes, and catching them is a human's job that is just never going to go away. But I want you to notice what I'm actually checking here. I'm not checking whether it managed to find the save button. I'm checking the numbers. 12 rows went in and 12 invoices came out. Every customer matches, every service matches, and the subtotals tie back to the same 29.55, right down to the penny. And then it hands me two problems that are mine to solve. The first one is that my tracker says these should be numbered 2001 through 2012, but QuickBooks ignored that and it used its own numbering instead because custom numbering happens to be switched off in my settings. Fixing that means changing a setting that would affect my whole company, so I didn't touch it. It flagged it and it asked me because nothing is allowed to reach into your configuration without a human saying yes first. The second one is that QuickBooks automatically added 8% California sales tax to every one of these, which is $236 that does not exist anywhere on my spreadsheet. Maybe that's correct, maybe it isn't. But that's a tax question. And a tax question belongs to a human being who holds a license. So I did the math, it showed me exactly what the gap was, and then it stopped and left it for me to figure out. And here's the last thing, which is that all 12 of these are built and reconciled and just sitting there, completely unsent. That's because the click that puts a bill in front of a paying customer is not a decision I'm willing to hand to automation. That isn't a limitation I'm apologizing for. That's a design. The job of a system like this isn't to hand you a thumbs up and call it done. The job is to hand you a short list of the only things that actually need you. So that's a line that I really want you to hold on to. People spend their judgment on the tax question and on hitting send. They're not going to spend their lives relearning where the save button moved to in the last update. That's the human in the loop, and that's the part that stays your job. And honestly, it's the only part that ever should have been yours in the first place. My name is Juan, and I'm with Watermelon AI. I'm building these for finance teams and accounting teams. It's one command running your processes with your guardrails against your books, so your people can stop retyping spreadsheets into forms and start spending their time on calls that genuinely need a human. This is just one command of a whole stack of them. So if there's a monthly grind you're dreading, whether that's a close, a cleanup, an invoicing run, send me a message or check the link below and let's actually talk through your stack. And if you want practical AI for finance and accounting, not theory, go ahead and subscribe.